Hey, nightmares. Tonight we descend into a place where truth curls behind glass and reflections are not your own. You step through the high, arched gates of the Stríbro monastery just as the last glint of sunlight slips beneath the tree line. The stone is cold beneath your feet, older than most nations, older than memory. The monks greet you with silent nods, their faces pale and smooth, their eyes never quite settling on yours. You're here for stillness, peace, a retreat from the noise of the world. Or so you tell yourself. But the silence in this place feels layered, as if beneath the stillness something breathes. The room assigned to you is small, bare, a single wooden bed, a candle, a mirror. The mirror. At first, you think it's a trick of the dim candlelight, the lack of reflection. You move your hand. Nothing, you lean closer. The surface is clear, silvered, perfect, and utterly empty. Your reflection is gone. You touch your cheek, press fingers to your jaw, you wave. Still nothing. A small plaque beneath the mirror reads, in delicate script, "May you face only truth here." You laugh uneasily. Maybe you're tired. Maybe the mirror is old, warped. But the air feels denser now. The walls breathe. A monk passes by your open door. You call out to him. He pauses, tilts his head. "They do not lie," he says, eyes glassy. "They only refuse." That night, as you lie in bed, the mirror hums. Not with sound, but presence. Your skin tingles when you face it. Something is watching you from the other side, but not with your face. You remember a childhood fear. The idea that mirrors might be windows, not walls. That something might stare back. Tonight, you realize you were right. So, before the shadows deepen and the whispers begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely dare to journey into the unknown with me. And tell me, where are you listening from? What time is it where you are? Isn't it strange how dread echoes differently depending on the hour? Now, extinguish every light, perhaps pull your blanket tighter, and let's descend into tonight's chilling journey together. You rise before dawn, determined to shake off the nonsense. You splash water on your face and glance at the mirror again, still blank. Then a whisper, not from your room but from within the glass. Not words, just breath. You blink. Your reflection flickers just for a second, but it's not mimicking you. Its mouth moves before yours. Its eyes narrow, slightly off time, and its skin is just a little smoother. When you look again, it's gone. At breakfast, you ask the monk beside you about the mirror. He doesn't look up from his bowl of broth. "They show nothing unless something is missing," he murmurs. "What did you lose?" You shake your head, unnerved. But deep down, you know there is something you can't name, some part of yourself. Maybe not lost, but left behind. Forgotten. The Abbey's library holds records of the mirrors. Faded drawings, inked warnings. One parchment shows a man with no face standing before a mirror, and underneath, "That which cannot reflect cannot remain." You stare at your empty mirror again that night, and it stares back, patient. There's a soft tap from inside the glass. It's not loud, not demanding, just waiting. Outside, the wind howls across the stones, but it never rattles your window. It has no need. The storm is in here now, behind your walls, behind your eyes, behind your mirror. You dream of mirrors. Not one, but hundreds, crowding the walls of a vast cathedral with no roof, the sky a dull red bruise above. Each mirror reflects something different. A child crying, a monk screaming, a face peeling like wax under a flame. None of them show you. When you wake, your hands are cold, your fingers stiff, as though they've been clenched all night. You glance at the mirror. It's still there, still blank. But the candle you lit before sleep has burned down more than it should. Time passed, differently. You're not alone in this. At breakfast, you overhear hushed voices in the refectory. Words like veil and purgation float across the table. One monk's hands shake as he sips his tea, eyes darting to the hall. You wait until he's alone and ask gently about the mirrors. They echo, he says, not looking at you, but not sound, not words. What then? Choices, a pause, and sins. That evening, after Vespers, you roam the dark hallways. The monastery changes after sundown. Shadows stretch longer than they should. The air carries the scent of old wood, faint mildew, and something metallic, like blood or rust. You pass a mirror in the corridor, tall, thin, Baroque in design. You don't intend to stop, but your legs betray you. There's something in it. At first, it looks like static. Not digital, but that strange flickering like heat waves rising off asphalt. Then it clarifies. Not your reflection, no, but a boy, perhaps 10 years old, holding a doll and sobbing. You feel the grief like a punch in your stomach. It's not your memory. You've never seen him before. But something inside you aches, as if you've left him behind. Then the mirror dims. Behind you, a whisper. Why did you forget me? You whirl around. Nothing. When you face the mirror again, it's blank. You walk faster now, but every turn brings another mirror. Some tall, some small, all empty. And yet the air is charged, like every pane remembers something you don't. You reach the library. It's dimly lit, smelling of ash and leather. In the archives, you find a collection labeled Specula Obscura, 1421. A monk's account reads, "We covered the mirrors again. Brother Andal began screaming at his reflection, said it knew secrets his heart had not yet learned. Before the morning bell, he had clawed out his eyes." And then, scrawled beneath in red ink, "Truth can be heard in silence if the mirror listens long enough." You sit in the dim silence of the library, breath shallow. Mirrors that echo, but not sound. A bizarre fact from Czech history surfaces. In the 16th century, alchemists believed that if you spoke your sins in front of a black mirror, the glass would absorb the guilt. But some warned, too much sin, and the mirror would begin to leak. What leaks from your mirror? Later that night, in your room, you light the candle again. You sit before the mirror, watching it not watch you. The silence grows louder. Your breath fogs the surface. No reflection, just mist, then tiny rivulets forming an image. It's a mouth, not yours. It opens. You stumble back. The mouth doesn't speak, but a sound leaks from somewhere else in the room, soft and wet, like lips parting behind your ear. You spin around empty air. The mirror is fogged again. You wipe it, it's cold, icy. Your fingers come away damp and there's something sticky. You don't smell blood, not exactly. But you taste iron on your tongue. You think of something the monk said. They do not lie. And it clicks. Maybe the mirrors don't fail to reflect you. Maybe they refuse. Refuse to show someone who no longer has a true self to reflect. Or worse, someone whose truth is better left unseen. Outside your room, you hear footsteps, bare, hesitant, stopping right at your door. Then, something brushes the mirror from inside. Not a tap this time. A scratch. The scratching continues long after the footsteps fade. Soft, deliberate, like fingernails dragging across glass with the patience of something that has waited centuries to be remembered. You don't sleep. Instead, you sit motionless in your bed, blanket clutched to your chest, eyes fixed on the mirror across the room. The candle burns lower. Shadows rise higher. The glass remains blank, yet every now and then there's a shimmer, like heat, like breath fogging from the inside. At dawn, the mirror is silent again, but something about your room feels emptier, as though you have been subtracted, molecule by molecule, while you slept. You return to the library the moment its doors creak open. The librarian, the same hollow-eyed monk from yesterday, greets you with a nod. His lips stretch thin, not quite a smile. You ask him if there are more records of the mirrors. He hesitates, then pulls out a bound manuscript wrapped in faded cloth. "A Brother Clement's journal," he says, voice brittle as parchment. "He was the first to go missing." Inside, the ink is erratic, sometimes neat, sometimes manic. You read slowly, each page pulling you deeper. I have stared long enough, I think. The glass does not judge, yet I feel judged all the same. Yesterday I saw a version of myself with no mouth. It simply smiled. When I sleep, I wake closer to the mirror. I no longer remember walking. I have begun leaving notes for myself, yet the handwriting is no longer mine. You shudder on the final page. Tonight I enter. If I do not return, burn the glass. There is no entry after that. The monastery's logbook confirms it. Brother Clement was declared missing in 1743. No body, no farewell, just vanished. But you've seen the date before. On your mirror. Etched faintly in the bottom right corner of the frame, nearly invisible unless lit just right. 1743. You return to your room. You turn the mirror toward the light. There it is again. You whisper his name, Brother Clement. And then your face returns. But it's not your face. It's older, thinner, eyes too wide, mouth slightly parted like it's mid-scream, but silent. The lips curl into something like a smile, and then, just before fading, it winks. You stagger back, breathing ragged. You knock over the candle. It sputters out. Darkness. You relight it with shaking hands. When the flame returns, so does your face, normal now. Pale, sweating, but still yours. You can't be sure anymore. Later, you ask the librarian again, what happened after Clement vanished? He hesitates, then tells you almost a whisper, the mirror was moved to storage, but it returned. You blink. Returned how? No one carried it. You feel your heart falter, like a breath cut short. There is no storage room anymore, he adds. It's room 13 now. You recognize the number from whispers. Room 13 is sealed. Never entered, never cleaned. You ask why. He leans in close. Because it reflects even when there is no one inside. You press your hands against your temples. You want to leave, but you can't. Because last night, when your face vanished again, something else remained in the mirror, just for a second. A silhouette, a monk's robe, head bowed. You whisper the name again. Clement. No answer. But later, as you walk the corridor past room 13, you swear you hear humming. Faint, rhythmic, not joyful. Like someone trapped, singing to stay sane. You press your ear to the door. And from the other side, in a voice identical to yours. Stop looking. You don't breathe. You run. That night, you try to cover the mirror with your blanket. It falls off on its own. You don't replace it. And in the morning, the face that greets you isn't entirely wrong. But the eyes, they're not tired from sleeplessness. They're tired from watching you sleep. You've stopped turning your back to the mirror. It's not superstition, it's survival. Every time you've looked away lately, something changes. Subtly. The angle of your shoulders in the reflection. The slight delay in your blinking. A smile, faint and unearned, curling on your doppelganger's face when you are dead silent. But nothing prepares you for the moment your reflection returns fully, without your permission. It's midday. You're scribbling a journal entry on the edge of your bed, thinking maybe if you document the strangeness, it'll lose its teeth. The mirror is quiet, empty. Then it flickers, and suddenly you're there. Clear, crisp, but not moving. You raise your hand. The reflection doesn't follow. Instead, it begins to write. You squint. The handwriting is familiar. It's yours. But the words are not. You never told them. You left it behind. You still pretend it didn't happen. Your hand trembles. You whisper, what didn't happen? and your reflection smiles. You know. It's then you remember. The girl in Prague, the wet cobblestone, the scream, the silence that followed. The way no one found her, the way you kept walking. You hadn't thought about it in years. The mirror had. That night, you return from prayers to find your room colder than before. The candle won't light. Your reflection is already waiting, grinning. You feel sick. You turn the mirror to the wall. The reflection persists. On the wall itself, like it's burned into your vision. You begin to shake. The monks offer no comfort. You confront one, Brother Janik, with your story. He listens patiently, then says only, "The mirror is a confession, and you're still lying." You snap, you scream at him. But as you do, you catch a glimpse of your face in his glasses. You're not angry there. You're delighted. That night, you cover the mirror again. Tape the blanket down, block it with the nightstand. But you still feel watched. Worse, judged. A Czech folktale surfaces in your mind. Zrcadlo duši, the mirror of souls. Said to reflect not the flesh but the flaws. Used by ancient monastics to purge themselves of sin. If it rejected your face, it meant the soul was lost. Most who failed the reflection would blind themselves, hoping their next vision would be purer. Some never saw again. Some never stopped seeing. Around 3 a.m., the scratching begins again. But this time, not from the mirror. From inside your ears. You claw at them. Blood, silence, then a voice close and cold. Repent. You stagger to the chapel, desperate. A final candle burns before a mosaic of Saint Cyril. The golden face watches you impassively. You collapse at the altar. You whisper the truth. You beg for forgiveness. The air stirs. You return to your room. The mirror now shows you fully. Hands bloody, face raw, eyes wide. But you're not moving. And behind you in the reflection, something waits in the corner. Featureless, breathing. You turn. Nothing there. You turn back. It's closer. You finally sleep, if it can be called that. A dream of mirrors, thousands of them, each containing someone you used to be. Some scream. Some stare. I'll blame you. You've started avoiding your room. Not because of what you see in the mirror, but because of what you don't. The monks notice. They don't ask. They only watch, quietly, like they're waiting for a step you haven't taken yet. You overhear 2 of them speaking in Latin behind the cloisters. One word stands out again and again. Specularium. Later, you find it mentioned in a crumbling codex in the library's restricted section. You're not supposed to be there, but at this point, the concept of permission feels laughably thin. The word refers to a specific place, the chapel of the glass saints. A sealed chapel deep in the oldest wing of the monastery. Long closed off. You find it by accident, or perhaps by design, following the scent of cold iron and old stone. Its door is different from the others, carved with spiraling patterns that pull your eyes in, make your pulse stutter. The lock is broken, yet the door stays closed until you touch it. Then it swings open. Inside, silence, thick, clinging. Even the echoes refuse to speak. The chapel is small, rounded. Walls lined with 13 mirrors, each massive, ornate, and slightly tilted inward, as if gazing toward the stone altar at the center. But none reflect you. Not even a flicker. They reflect other things. One shows a girl sobbing in a pew, her mouth open but no sound escaping. Another shows monks kneeling in a line, robes soaked in what looks like black ink, or is it blood? A third shows your bedroom but slightly off, the window S in the wrong place, the bed unmade, a figure curled beneath the blanket. But you're standing there too, just behind the reflection's edge. You walk to the altar. On it, a mirror the size of a dinner plate, framed in gold, resting on a bed of ash. The plaque beneath it reads, "To reflect is to surrender." You reach for it and something pulls back, a resistance in the air, not physical, psychological. Like the mirror is afraid of you. Or disgusted. The moment your fingers graze the frame, your head is flooded with whispers, dozens of voices murmuring, pleading, accusing. You drop it. The sound echoes, dull, heavy. No glass shatters, but one of the mirrors on the wall cracks from top to bottom. In that crack, a face forms. It's yours. But it's kneeling. And behind it, glass saints. Figures in robes, faceless, their surfaces silvered, their hands clasped in prayer. Not statues, not quite. And they're turning. You bolt from the chapel. When you reach your room again, your mirror has changed. The reflection is back, but only halfway. Your face is split down the middle. One side smooth, human, the other side metallic, glassy, eyeless. The next morning, you awaken to the scent of ash in your sheets and written in the dust on your desk. You have stood in their chapel. You cannot pretend to be whole. That day, Brother Janek avoids you entirely. You try to confront him. He simply bows and says, "The glass saints don't forget." You don't know what they want. But you do know this. The more you learn, the less your reflection belongs to you. The mirrors are patient. And they're collecting something. Not images, not memories. Versions. You find Brother Pavel's mirror in the courtyard well. Not the real mirror, the real one's gone. Removed from his room last night after he smashed it with his bare fists. Left his knuckles raw, bleeding. He hadn't spoken since. But the pieces turned up where no one could explain. Floating in the monastery's old well, a place sealed long ago. The water below was undrinkable, tainted by rust, rats, time. No one ever goes near it. Yet you're drawn there. The surface is oddly still, reflecting not the sky, but something darker. You lean in. There's a piece of glass shimmering below, impossibly bright in the stagnant water. Your face forms on its surface, but doesn't blink when you do. It smirks. Behind it, faintly, someone else is watching. A woman, gaunt, draped in what might be a funeral veil, standing just out of sight. You stagger back. Later that day, you find Pavel in the garden, his hands wrapped in blood-stained cloth. He's muttering scripture to himself, eyes glazed. You ask him why he did it. His head snaps toward you. "I didn't break it," he hisses. "I set it free." He grabs your arm hard enough to bruise. They don't need us to watch. They need us to obey. That's why we vow. That's why we stop seeing. You pry yourself free. He stumbles backward, laughing in short, choked bursts, like someone trying to remember how joy works. By evening, his room is empty. No trace of him, not even footprints in the dust. Just the stain of old blood on the floorboards, still faintly wet. And on his desk, a small mirror shard with your face already inside it, blinking, smiling, watching. You begin to understand. These mirrors aren't just glass, they're witnesses. And sometimes, witnesses don't just observe. They remember. They punish. That night, you return to the chapel of the glass saints. You need answers. Inside, the 13th mirror, the cracked one, has now shattered entirely. The pieces lie carefully arranged on the altar, forming a shape like a sun or an open eye. The silver saints still line the walls, but one of them is missing. There's an indentation in the dust where it stood, and next to it, a bare footprint. You feel a presence behind you and turn quickly, only to see your own face staring back at you from the mirror closest to the entrance. Only, this version of you isn't wearing monastery robes. They're wearing Pavels. You look down. You're in your usual clothing. You look back. The reflection raises a finger to its lips. Then grins, slowly, teeth too long, too sharp. The mirror goes dark. Back in your rooms, the mirror is uncovered. You know you covered it, you know. The frame has split at one corner, not from impact, but like something pushed from within. And there's a word scrawled in condensation across the glass, though the room is dry. Confess. You whisper back, to what? The surface ripples. And then the glass bleeds. A thin trickle, not blood exactly, too black, too cold. It slides down the wall, disappears into the floorboards. In the silence, something cracks inside you. Not fear. Not madness. Recognition. You are being judged. Not by God, not by man, but by reflections that know every truth you've buried. And one of them is walking your halls now. You begin marking the hours by the moments the mirror moves. Not the hands of a clock, not the sun's rise or fall through your window, but by the changes. At 3:12 a.m., the glass grows warm. At 3:17, your reflection's pupils dilate while yours remain still. At 3:21, the mirror fogs and words appear backwards in the mist. You're almost ready. By morning, the mirror is blank again, but now you see faint scratches beneath the glass, not etched in the surface, but trapped inside the silver. Tiny carvings, names, symbols, numbers. A few you recognize from the monastery walls, one is your own. That day, you seek the one monk who hasn't spoken a word since your arrival, Brother Aurel. He sweeps the hallway outside the refectory every morning, staring at the floor like it offends him. You ask gently if he's ever seen the mirrors move. He drops the broom. Without looking up, he whispers, "They're not mirrors, they're mouths." You don't understand. Until he lifts his sleeve. His forearm is covered in thin red slashes, rows of mirror glass embedded in the skin, grown over like bone. "They show us what lies beneath," he mutters. "Not what we are, what we hide." You stagger back. He continues almost kindly. "Some reflections aren't cast, they're extracted." You run. Back in your room, you open the window for the first time in days. You crave air, movement, something unwarped. But the reflection on the glass is wrong. Not just you, but behind you. Standing close. Breathing. You whirl around. Nothing. When you look again, the window is fogged. A single handprint stains the pane from the inside. Only your hands are dry. You descend into the catacombs beneath the monastery, a place you were told was off limits. You follow the scent of wax and rust. Down there, beneath centuries of dust, you find the workshop. A forgotten room of shattered frames and warped silver. And in the center, a vat. Silver, pure. Molten. Still warm. A bucket nearby is full of teeth. You find documents, old and half-burned, drawings of men submerged in mercury, alchemical texts translated badly from German and Latin. One passage sticks with you. And to see the soul's shape, one must peel the eye of the world. Silver reflects only the surface. What lies beneath resists. You begin to understand the process. Monks weren't making mirrors. They were birthing them. Sculpting not from glass, but from sin. Reflections poured from pain. Memories beaten into metal. You leave the catacombs changed. That night, the mirror calls. You don't mean to look, but you do. And for the first time, it speaks clearly. Not in whispers. Not in breath. But in your own voice. What are you, if no reflection claims you? You don't answer. It continues. Who forgives the thing beneath the glass? Then the surface shudders, and a crack appears, running from top left to bottom right. Through your face, And behind that, something else, a shifting shadow where your spine should be. The glass starts peeling, thin layers sliding off like flesh from bone. You scream, but it's not echoed in the room. It's echoed in the mirror. And in that echo, you hear another voice join yours. Someone else. Someone still trapped beneath the silver. Brother Clement. Or perhaps the version of you who never walked away. The whispering begins at the edges of your hearing, like wind slipping through stone. But there is no wind. Only mirrors. And they're getting louder. You try to stay awake, to anchor yourself in anything that isn't reflected. But no matter where you go, there's glass. The brass crucifix on your rosary has a polished shine. A spoon on the breakfast table winks with warped silver. Even the surface of spilled water bends light just enough to distort your face. Every surface becomes a portal. And every portal is speaking now. Not with words at first, but memory. You pass by a hallway mirror and suddenly remember something you never meant to. The time you hid in the church basement during a thunderstorm as a child, whispering into the darkness and pretending someone was listening, because you needed there to be someone. Only now, as an adult, you wonder, was there someone? You run. Back in your room, you press your ear to the mirror, not because you want to, but because the sound pulls you. You hear laughter. Not cruel. Not loud. Just wrong. Like your own laugh, muffled behind a veil. And then words, forming gently. You don't belong out there anymore. You back away. You tape a towel over the mirror. Still, the whispers persist. They begin echoing inside your head. Disjointed fragments at first. He knew. The vow was broken. Glass doesn't forget. You seek help from Brother Gregor, the monastery's confessor. He offers you tea, trembling slightly as he pours. His eyes never meet yours. You ask him what he knows about the voices. He sets the cup down with both hands, steadies himself. They only whisper to those who have begun to reflect inward, he says. You're listening now, which means it's already begun. What has? The descent. You ask if it can be stopped. He laughs. Not kindly. You've been mirrored. You can't be unmirrored. Before you can respond, he excuses himself quickly, leaves his cup untouched. Inside it, you see your reflection swirling in the tea. But it's not the reflection of you sitting here. It's the you that's standing behind Gregor, whispering something in his ear. You blink. Gone. Later, in desperation, you wedge the mirror from the wall and turn it to face the floor. You think it might silence the voices. Instead, they change. They begin speaking your name. Sometimes in a child's voice. Sometimes in a guttural rasp that smells of smoke. You wake at 2, 11 a.m. to find the mirror upright again, facing your bed. Still covered, but vibrating softly, like something breathing beneath the towel. You tear it down. The glass shows nothing. Not even the room. Just darkness. And then, the surface bulges. A single finger presses out from the other side, skinless, wet, twitching. Then another. They retract. The glass flattens. But now you know. The mirror is no longer content to whisper. It wants to reach. And it knows your name. You finally ask the question that's burned behind your teeth for days. What's in room 13? No one answers directly, not at first. Brother Janik crosses himself. Brother Aurel walks away entirely. Brother Gregor only murmurs, not what, who. It's the librarian, frail, near silent, who finally meets your gaze and whispers. It's where the mirror never stopped reflecting. He hands you a key. Rust coats its teeth, and the iron is warm. Too warm, like it's been held tightly by something with no blood. You wait until nightfall. The hallway to room 13 is different from the rest, narrower. The light from your candle feels smothered here, swallowed into stone. The silence becomes too perfect. No creaks, no scuttles, not even your breath. When you reach the door, it already seems ajar. You didn't open it. But something wants you in. You step inside. Dust everywhere, so thick it hangs in the air like smoke. You wave your hand, stirring ghostly trails. The smell hits you next. Not rot, not mold. Metal. Room 13 contains only a chair and a mirror. The chair is made of dark wood, etched with tiny sigils. Some you recognize from the catacomb texts, others carved too deeply to be mere decoration. It faces the wall where the mirror hangs, nailed into stone as though it's been trapped there. This mirror is unlike the others. No ornamentation, no plaque, no decoration, just a sheet of blackened silver rippling faintly like the surface of oil. You take a step closer, then another, and then you see it. Your reflection. But it's you as you looked in childhood, around 7, knees scraped, eyes wide, mouth half open in the shape of a question you never asked. He stares at you and doesn't blink. The whispering begins again. It's not around you. From inside the room. Behind the mirror. He stayed too long, the voice says. He wanted to know. Now he is known. You back away. But the mirror moves. Just slightly. Tilting downward, like a head nodding. Approving. Welcoming. Then the candle extinguishes, snuffed not by wind, but by something wet. You spin and fumble with the door. It won't open. The whispering rises. Not one voice now. The chorus. All in different tones. Some weep, some beg, some laugh. Your reflection remains still until it lifts a hand and places it against the inside of the mirror. You don't move, but your hand rises on its own. You feel glass. Then, something beneath the glass. Flesh. The moment breaks when light floods the room. A monk stands at the door, panting. "Out!" he commands. You obey. The door slams shut. The whispers end. You never saw that monk's face. You don't think you want to. Later, you check your room. Your mirror has changed again. It now shows room 13. You see the chair. You see the mirror. And for a brief, breathless moment, you see yourself sitting there, smiling and waiting. You notice the archivist has never once eaten in the refectory, never joined in prayer, never blinked. You begin watching him, the way prey watches a shadow that seems too still for too long. The archivist resides in a stone annex beneath the East Bell Tower, a place with no windows and too many locks on the inside of the door. You pretend you need an old manuscript. He nods and lets you in. His room is colder than the catacombs. The scrolls line the walls, all bound in faded leather or thin metal clasps. One entire shelf appears scorched. He says nothing about it, just gestures for you to sit. Then he smiles. No lips. Just teeth. Small, white too many. They don't sit flat against his gums, but instead seem to curl inward, as though his mouth is an aperture that doesn't fully close anymore. You feel ill. He speaks slowly, dragging his voice through the air like a rake through gravel. "The mirrors took my face first," he says. "They always start with what you're willing to lose." You stammer, ask what he means. He tilts his head almost fondly. You think they care about eyes, hands, breath. They feed on fragments, regrets, lies, secrets. He opens a small drawer and hands you a black velvet pouch. Inside, teeth, tiny ones, childlike. You recoil. "They belong to the mirror," he says calmly. "It never forgets a bite." You ask if they're his. He smiles again, wider this time. "No," he whispers, "they're yours." You leave. You throw up. But later, curiosity digs into you like a hook behind the eyes. You return to your mirror that night, teeth still clutched in your trembling palm. It reacts. The surface shimmers, like heat rising from asphalt. And for a moment, you see the archivist, but not as he is now. You see a young man, weeping in front of a broken mirror, trying to push his own reflection back into the glass. His mouth is normal, his eyes wide. He is mouthing one word. "Sorry." Then he's gone. And the surface is blank. Only this time, your face reappears slowly. But there's blood on your teeth. You didn't bite your tongue. You didn't feel pain. And when you open your mouth, you realize You're missing one. You rush to the sink, spit blood, reach in. There's a gap near the back that wasn't there yesterday. And the mirror. It's smiling. In the days that follow, the archivist begins leaving notes under your door. Each one is a drawing of you, sometimes in monk's robes, sometimes as a child, sometimes asleep with your eyes open. Beneath each, a short caption. One reads, "This version won't last." Another, too reflective, too soft. The last note arrives without a drawing. It simply reads, "Soon you'll reflect perfectly, and then you'll be allowed inside." There comes a moment when the mirror stops imitating you altogether. At first it was subtle. A blink slightly offbeat. A breath that fogs the glass, even when you're holding yours. Then, one morning, you lean forward to examine a cut on your cheek, and your reflection just stares back, unmarked. Smiling. Smiling. You don't remember the last time you smiled like that. You touch the mirror. The glass is colder than ever. You watch your own finger press against the surface, but in the reflection, the hand remains still. Your chest tightens. There's something behind the reflection. A movement. Not a shadow. Shadows don't tilt their heads in time with your pulse. You scream. The face in the mirror keeps smiling. You rip the sheet off your bed and cover the glass. Tape it down. Block it with furniture. But mirrors are everywhere now, not just glass. Polished wood, a bowl of water, even a monk's eyeglasses reflect your shape. Or something that used to be your shape. You're no longer sure. In the corridor outside room 13, you pass a window and catch a flicker of motion. You stop. Your reflection is already standing there, waiting. It lifts its hand and taps gently on the inside of the glass. Tap. 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 You run. You hide. But that night, the whisper returns. This time clear. From within the mirror, and around you, and inside your mind all at once. Why do you assume it was ever you in there? You sleep on the floor now, away from reflective surfaces, but the dreams follow. You dream of halls full of mirrors, each holding a different version of yourself, screaming, laughing, kneeling, running toward the glass but never breaking through. And in every dream, one version isn't locked in. One version is watching. You wake up sweating. You grab the black velvet pouch the archivist gave you. There are more teeth now. They weren't there yesterday. And they're arranged in the shape of a smile. You begin to suspect the mirrors aren't reflections at all. They're eyes. Watching. Recording. Replicating. And sometimes replacing. You return to the chapel of the glass saints. You need answers. The 13th mirror is gone. Only the empty frame remains. On the wall behind it, scrawled in a shaking hand, It is free now. You run your hand over the wall. The surface is smooth, but warm, almost breathing. You step back and see your own shape pressed from the inside out, hands splayed against the stone, mouth wide in a silent scream. You turn and flee. But every surface you pass now holds a reflection. Not always of you. Sometimes the monk you once met. Sometimes a child you never were. Sometimes a creature with your eyes, but none of your mercy. You start whispering apologies. To the mirrors. To the versions. To yourself. Because deep down, you know what's coming. There's a reason the reflections stopped following you. They're no longer behind the glass. They're here. And they're staring back. You find the door behind the chapel by accident or fate. A slab of stone, misaligned just enough to invite a second glance. You press against it, and the wall groans, ancient hinges releasing a sigh of air that hasn't moved in centuries. Beyond is a narrow stairwell spiraling down, lit only by the faintest blue glow. The air smells of wax and ink, but also salt, as though an ocean waits at the bottom. You descend. The steps are carved with names, rows of them etched in a child's handwriting, fading the further you go. You pass hundreds, then thousands. Some repeated, some smudged, some crossed out. One catches your eye. Your own name. You touch it. It's warm. At the bottom, a chamber opens, a mirrorless room lined with wooden planks. Carvings cover every inch. Each panel bears a list of names. Most you don't recognize. But here and there, names of monks long vanished, names from the chapel scrolls, names you whispered in dreams but never spoke aloud. And beside each, a date. And beside that, a symbol, an eye, a broken circle, or a slash through a mirrored surface. You realize what you're looking at. The ledger of the forgotten. Those consumed by reflection. Those whose identities were stolen, whose selves were mirrored until only the reflection remained, and walked away. You find another plaque, older, carved in Latin. For each soul claimed by silver, a name is forgotten. To name them is to remember. To remember is to summon. You whisper a name aloud, one etched near your own. Brother Emil. The flame in your lantern flickers. You hear footsteps in the chamber above. Then the air behind you shifts. You turn. A shape stands at the bottom of the stairwell, just beyond the reach of light. It speaks in your voice. Don't read them. That's how they crawl back in. You run. Back up the stairs, through the chapel, into daylight that feels sharp and wrong. The sun shouldn't feel like this, like interrogation. Back in your room, your mirror is uncovered. But now it shows the chamber you just fled. The camera-like angle sweeps slowly, left to right, across the wall of names. Then stops. zooms in on yours. Below it, a new inscription is being carved from the inside of the glass. Not with tools, with fingertips. Ready to forget. The surface warps, then steadies. You see yourself standing in the chapel again, but this time, you're not the one holding the lantern. You're the one watching from the wall, trapped behind your name. A Czech legend resurfaces in your mind, the mirrors of memory, old folk tales of children vanishing after speaking their full name to a blackened glass. Not kidnapped, not murdered. Exchanged. It makes sense now. The mirrors don't kill you. They overwrite you. Whoever, or whatever, walks away wearing your face is more than just a reflection. It's a replacement. And in the monastery's deepest chamber, your name now glows faintly in the glass, waiting to be spoken by someone else. You don't remember the last time you truly saw your face. Not a warped echo, not a half-second mimicry, not a smirking doppelganger that fades when you blink. Your real face, whatever that means anymore. In the mirror, it's there again tonight. But it's changing. The skin looks thinner, translucent. Beneath it, something glints, like light under silver leaf. You lean in and see faint metallic filigree crawling up your throat, delicate as veins. You touch your neck. It feels warm. But in the reflection, it crackles. Your eyes are next. They're not wrong, not yet, but the irises are ever so slightly misted, cloudy like the patina on old Mercury. You blink. Your reflection doesn't. It holds your gaze, then slowly opens its mouth. No sound comes out. Only a puff of dust, as though it's decaying from the inside. And yet it smiles. You snap. You cover the mirror again. But it's too late. You've been watching yourself rot. The next morning, you examine your hands under sunlight. The skin is pale, smooth, too smooth. And you realize no fingerprints. None. You rush to the fountain in the courtyard, kneel, splash water on your face. The ripples clear. You stare down. And the reflection is not blinking. It opens its eyes wider, leans in. Its eyes are entirely hollow. Just tunnels of darkness, reflective tunnels. And as you gasp, the mouth of the thing in the water doesn't move. But the eyes smile. You stagger back. Brothers pass you by with guarded glances, giving a wide berth. You try to speak, to explain, but the words don't come right. They echo, slightly delayed, like feedback in a tunnel. You flee to the catacombs. The mirrors down there are different, raw, unfinished, in various stages of becoming. One in particular calls to you. It's liquid silver spread over a cracked stone wall. Your reflection there is less human, but truer. You stare. And the voice behind you says, "This is what happens when you don't confess in time." It's Brother Aurel, only, not. His eyes shimmer like yours now, too bright, too clean. You whisper, "What's happening to me?" He answers with a phrase that doesn't belong in any language, but you understand it anyway. The self has many layers. You've peeled off too many. You leave. Back in your room, the mirror is gone. The wall where it hung is bare, but the outline remains, a scorched silhouette in the shape of a frame. And a message, finger-painted in reflective liquid. Step through. You approach slowly. The frame pulses. The wall becomes soft, yielding, like water or skin. You press your hand into it. It goes deeper, and deeper, and doesn't stop. You scream. But the sound is mirrored, sucked back into your throat like you're breathing yourself in. You yank your hand away. It's silvered now, pale, cool. The skin feels tight. The fingers, smooth, too smooth. No joints, no lines. Just reflection. You begin to understand. You're becoming one of them. A creature of mirrored memory. A watcher behind the frame. And soon, when the final trace of your humanity fades, someone else will see you, and not themselves. You don't decide to go through. You just stop resisting. It begins like sleepwalking. One moment you're sitting on your bed, the next you're standing before the scorched outline where the mirror once hung, your fingertips already brushing the silver-soft wall. It yields, with terrifying ease. Like something on the other side has been expecting your touch. You step forward, and the world swallows you. No sound, no heat, no gravity. Only transition. You move through darkness thick as oil, dense with whispers too faint to follow, too sharp to forget. You sense other minds, shards of selves that drift past you like leaves in deep water. Some scream, some sob, some chant the names they used to have. You don't scream. You remember to hold your breath. You emerge. On the other side, it's a room. Familiar, monastic stone, candlelight, a mirror on the wall. But not your room. And not your monastery. Everything is reversed. Left is right. Shadows bend inward, and the candle flames flicker without heat. You turn toward the mirror. Your reflection greets you. But it isn't you anymore. It's perfect. Too perfect. The skin is glass. The eyes are wells. The smile is practiced and endless. Behind you, in the reflection, a corridor opens that doesn't exist in the real monastery. You follow it. The air is still. Not lifeless, but waiting. You pass rooms filled with hanging silver veils. Behind each veil, something breathes. Each inhale mirrors your own. Each exhale carries your memories away, one at a time. A door appears. Black glass, etched with a symbol you've seen before, the eye with no iris. You open it. Inside, a hall of mirrors. But not reflecting you. Reflecting others. Children. Monks. Travelers. All trapped mid-motion, their expressions frozen in confusion, terror, or serenity. And then yourself. Dozens of you. Each paused at a different moment in time, arguing, laughing, hiding, weeping. A version of you kneels in one corner, lips moving in prayer. Another is hammering on the inside of a mirror, face twisted in panic. And one just stands watching you. You step closer to that version. Its eyes follow yours. And it speaks without moving its lips. You're the one who stayed too long. You ask or try to ask, "What is this place?" But your mouth doesn't open. Your thoughts echo in the silver. The answer comes from all mirrors at once. The archive of the unclaimed, the veil between selves, the cathedral of the lost reflections. This is where the mirror keeps what it cannot return. You collapse. Or try to. But gravity is suggestion here. You fall inward, into yourself, into memory. You see every moment you denied, every lie you believed about who you were. The mirrors didn't show you your face because you no longer had one. Not here. You rise. No longer certain of which you are. Only that one of you must go back. And one of you must stay. The mirrors are judges, yes, but also doors. You choose. You walk toward a pane of silver that begins to ripple. And just before you step through, you hear a voice behind you whisper, "Choose well. Whichever one returns will forget the other existed." You pause. You look back and see yourself watching from the other side, waiting for your decision. You step forward. You return. But the world feels different. Colder. Fewer sounds, longer shadows. Your room is as you left it. But the mirror is whole again. And smiling. You awaken the next morning to silence. But not the comforting kind. This is the silence of something missing. Something important. You look around your room, everything where it should be. Bed, desk, candles, crucifix. And the mirror. Polished, perfect. You don't want to check it. You need to. You step before it. Your reflection greets you. It smiles politely, tilts its head, raises a hand in tandem with yours. But then it does something you don't. It winks. Just slightly. A twitch in the lower lid. You freeze. You try a different motion, scratch your chin. The reflection follows. Perfectly. Too perfectly. You lean in close. Your eyes meet. And behind those eyes, something looks back. Not malevolent. Not kind. just present. The way a shadow waits behind the door. You try to speak to it, ask, "Am I me?" But your voice trembles, and the question dies in your throat. You look down at your hands, still too smooth. The silver filigree beneath the skin has faded, but not vanished. You test your grip, flex your fingers. They work. But do they feel? You whisper your own name aloud. It sounds strain, like you're quoting a stranger. Later, you visit the courtyard. The monks nod politely, but their smiles don't reach their eyes. One crosses himself as you pass. Another drops his book and doesn't pick it up. You return to your room. The mirror is fogged now, though the air is dry. A message appears, scrawled in reverse. You made it out. Then, one of you did. And the fog fades. Your reflection is back again. You lift your hand. So does it. You narrow your eyes. So does it. And yet, you can't help but feel that somewhere on the other side of that glass, a version of you is still watching, still waiting, still remembering. Because something's different now. Not just in the mirror. In the world. You cast no reflection in anything else. Not in water. Not in windows. Not in another's gaze. Only in that one mirror. The one that brought you back. You leave the monastery quietly, head bowed, steps light on the worn stones. The sun greets you like an old friend that no longer remembers your name. At the edge of the forest, you turn back. The monastery looms on the hill. A silver flash catches your eye, high in the tower. A mirror. Watching. Still. And deep inside you, the truth settles. You've been reflected. And that reflection has shape. Desire. Memory. It knows what you did. What you are. And what you chose to forget. So now, when you catch yourself in the corner of your eye, when light bends unexpectedly, or silence lingers too long, you know. The mirror isn't finished with you. It never was. It never will be. And now, as the candle burns low, and the shadows pool like ink around your bed, let your breath slow. Let your muscles soften. Let your eyes close, if you still trust what they'll see when they open again. You've returned from a place most never speak of, where reflections keep score, and mirrors don't offer vanity but verdicts. If you feel different now, it's not your imagination. Something followed you. It may not scratch at the glass tonight, or whisper through the condensation on your windows tomorrow. But it remembers you. And when the world is quiet enough, when your mind drifts towards sleep, and your heartbeat begins to echo in the hush, you may hear the soft tap. 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 Just a reminder that the self is never a singular thing. We are reflections. And sometimes, reflections won out. So rest now. Wrap yourself in blankets, draw your breath deep, and settle into dreams where glass cannot reach. But if you wake and see a version of yourself smiling faintly in the mirror, don't panic. Just smile back. You wouldn't want to be rude. After all, it remembers. End of script. Pleasant nightmares.